All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Welcome to the students that have made the travel from their high schools to be here. We're sure glad that you're here with us for this technical education convocation. So uh, let me just introduce our speaker. Well, just before I get to that point, those of you that are here in Richfield, you need to know that this is also being broadcast to the Ephraim campus. There are 400 or 500 students that are enrolled in a class up there called Convocations, and they're going to hear the presentation from this campus going that direction. So you're just part of a group that's sitting here, and we appreciate you being here with us to have a live audience. So I'll introduce our speaker, Rush Kane, a welding professional and founder and CEO of Kane Industries. Originally from Delta, Utah, Rush has a passion and has had a passion for welding since the age of 14. He competed at both the high school and college levels and placed second at Skills USA. At Kane Industries, he develops PPE and other products, so personal protection equipment, for welding and fabrication professionals. In addition, he's collaborated with the OTC to develop professional TIG welding machine for high precision applications. The title of his presentation today is Define Yourself, Inspire the Future. So Kane, thanks for being with us, and you can introduce your wife if you'd like, but she came as the best support, but come on up, Kane. I should say Rush. I'm getting the last name first, but Rush, here you go.
Hi guys, happy to be here with you today. I am Rush Kane. I am originally from Delta, Utah, so it's a small town not too far from here. You guys probably have heard about it. So I kind of got my start into the welding industry kind of accidentally from my interest in music. So I was fascinated with music and watching music videos. I had some older brothers that had a lot of live concert videos that I used to watch all the time, and I thought it was so cool, like the energy and just the excitement behind music and the production of all of that. And when I was about 13 years old, I was watching MTV, and there was a video, and I saw a bicycle on this video, and it was one of the coolest things that I've ever seen, especially for a 13-year-old mind, just the fascination of something new and wild. And it was like a lowrider bike that had a bunch of twisted metal all over the place, and it was just something I really, really wanted and was intrigued by. So that was when I saw all this when I was in middle school, and we were signing up for classes to take in high school. And going through the classes and sitting with the counselors in middle school, I saw a welding program was available. And running through my thoughts of what could welding be, I didn't really know, but I figured if I took welding and I applied myself, chances are I would be able to build the bike of my dreams, like a pedal bicycle, lowrider, all stretched out, something that I just really, really wanted. And so I signed up for classes, and then when I went to start my 9th grade year, I was bused over to the Delta Technical Center, so the community college in Delta, and that's where I started my welding. And we went through all the safety parts of the welding shop, and to keep ourselves safe and apply ourselves. And I got into the welding shop after going through the bookwork side of things. I get into the welding shop, and I'm so eager to learn, and I'm the worst. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't strike an arc with the welder, and I just didn't understand it. One of the biggest misunderstandings that I had about welding was it's an electrical arc welding. So you have this electrical current flowing through this machinery, and you create a little gap of resistance, just through the air, and the electricity jumps through that, and where that little arc is jumping, it creates an immense amount of heat, and that's what melts the metal. I didn't realize that when I first started out, and so I was trying and just trial and error, and it was one of the most frustrating things for me. But I had a goal to build this bike, and I really, really wanted to. Unfortunately, the class program that we had, if you went through like all 4 years, then you could have a senior project. I conversed with my welding instructor, and I said, I really, really want to do this. This is the reason I took this class. I really want. This is what I really, really want to do. And so he told me if I applied myself extra hard and just tried and just persevered and just fought through, and I could prove myself, that he would let me do essentially a senior project when I was a freshman in high school. And that's what I did. And it was, I still have the bike. I just posted a video about kind of about this on my Instagram at Kane Kid. I just posted this yesterday, and then it's on my YouTube channel as well, Kane Kid Welds. And you can see clips of the bike. It looks a lot different now, because it's now it's like 19 to 20 years old, and so it's pretty aged and weathered. But it's something that's really, really special to me, and it's how I sparked my personal interest to get my start. Following that, I still had like the excitement. After I built my bike, I didn't settle. I just kept on going. I signed up for more and more welding classes throughout the next years, and my instructor, he saw my passion, and I was really, really lucky to have the support from him to help push me to apply myself and go compete against other schools. And that's really, really something that was really exciting, because it's kind of like welding but sports at the same time. And so it was a really, really cool type of thing for me to do. And after I competed a couple times, and I ended up placing in the top 3 like multiple times, my instructor he finally convinced me to join the Skills USA program, a club for welding, all the technical classes that you go through. Skills USA has a club and a program that you can really apply yourselves and create a team and go out there and compete against other schools. And that's the route that I took, and that going and competing and applying myself through Skills USA, that landed me at the state competition my senior year of high school. And I thought that I had everything in the bag. I thought I knew everything. I thought, I got this, like my skills are good. I don't really need to study the book work. And that ended up costing me, and I ended up placing second at state. And if I just would have applied myself a little bit more through the technical side, studied the book work, then I probably could have came out on top. But I didn't let it get me down, and it's a really cool thing to place in the whole entire state of Utah, to be able to place at the top. It's something it's still special to me to this day. The cool thing about going to the skills competitions is there's people from all over the industry there, and these people are watching. And you've heard of sports scouts, when there's sports teams playing, and scouts come in and they pick people that they want to, that have potential to be a professional. The Skills USA programs, from my experience, are kind of the same way. There's a lot of people watching, and these people are involved in the industry. You have people from all over the state, gas supply stores, all the sales reps that are coming in. And these people are highly knowledgeable about different things in the industry, and they're out there meeting with all of these businesses all over the state. And what better person to have to know who you are and be able to share your reputation to all these other businesses. And that's when I got a call, just right after high school. I got a call from a major corporation to come in and interview for them. And I went in and interviewed and immediately got the job as a professional TIG welder. And so with TIG welding, it's a welding process. It's an electrical arc welding process, and but it's an extremely like hands-on technical, like even feet on. You run it off of a foot pedal, and then you have a torch that directs the electricity in one hand, and then you manually feed a piece of solid wire with your other hand into the molten weld, and to create the whole entire weld zone, to fuse all the metal together. And so it's really precise, and it's really hard to learn. And that's the type of welding that really motivated me to apply myself and shoot for the job opportunities that I was presented. So I started working at this major corporation, and they did their primary focus was temperature calibration, and it's essentially an exact science of temperature, and it was really cool there. So how you find a base temperature and be able to judge and read and know how to calibrate a temperature is taking an element and putting it into a chamber, like isolated, like no atmospheric pressures, and when you bring that raw element in its pure form to an exact temperature, it will separate in that environment into a solid, liquid, and gas, and then it'll hold this temperature for a certain range of time. And it's just temperature. That's where your temperature standards come from. So I spent 11 and a half years building and manufacturing privately for this major corporation. We had a satellite location here in Utah, and I was one of 4 people on this welding team, and we built millions of parts every year, under extreme precision. And we would have essentially like 4 parts per million was our defect rate, which is extremely low, and that creates a very minimal amount of waste in the manufacturing process. Working at this temperature place, I was able to essentially have on-the-job training and really build my skill set. And just working with the people around me, always being open and just open to listen to what their input is. If they're doing something better than me, then that was something that I could strive to be. If I saw that they were doing something, it gave me a personal goal to get to their level and keep on pushing forward. We have a lot of processes and different things to go through, like fixturing, setting up a system so you can be, when you're producing something in manufacturing, to keep everything highly consistent and keep those failures or defects to an extreme minimum. And part of that was innovation and always trying new things within the means, and not pushing outside where you can cause something catastrophic, be always working for something and trying to eliminate as many problems as possible by creating new solutions. And a lot of what I think innovation is it doesn't have to be problem solving, but problem simplifying. And the more problems you can simplify, the more the big problems just go away. And so it's a lot of the outlook I took on that was just small improvements and small increments, and just let those compound. And over time, through consistency, things start to improve and start to get better and better. Part of working at a major corporation as well was a lot of our responsibilities we had were inventory management, and how do you keep your parts flowing in and being sustainable, but not like overburdened. And because when you have when you have product inventory, you have a footprint that needs to occupy, and keeping things as lean as possible, but not letting yourself run dry to where you can't keep your manufacturing up was a big part of that. And so having systems in place to help control that. So like if you had a certain amount of parts that you know that you use over the span of like 3 months, you can keep a system where if you get to a certain point, then you need to reorder, because you're going to have a lead time of parts where you need to have those in before you run out, but not in too soon or too late to where you're out of floor space to hold all the inventory. So that was a big part of inventory management and working at a big corporation. And at this company, it maybe wasn't the best place as far as like a pay scale, being such a big company. But the route that I took on it is I didn't continue my education outside of high school through college or anything like that. I had offers and opportunities, but I looked at those and I weighed the opportunity to time spent, and I tried to look at where was the best place for me to apply my time, and I chose to do that on the job training, and which I just had to look at it was my time spent on the job, was that more valuable than spending my time and money to go to like education at a school. And so that was just kind of my viewpoint that I looked and weighed on that. And 20 years ago, for the welding industry, there wasn't a lot of opportunity available for me to learn the type of work that I wanted to do. And so that was a really, really great route for me, just to stay on the job and learn as much as I can. And working in production, there's so many of the same things, but there's so many different products and different parts that everything was cycling. So it was a whole bunch of different things all the time, but it was the same things that would cycle through over and over again. And I looked at that as just opportunity to continuously and constantly practice and refine my skill set. And that's like working through that, and then applying and using that opportunity to refine my skill set. I started documenting things and posting things online, so that when like social media came out, it wasn't really a big thing before like Instagram, and that's when I had the idea to just document my work and start posting it online, not necessarily to show it off to the world, but to give myself an online digital portfolio, because I had the idea that would be more valuable to prospecting employer to see videos or photos of me actually doing the work, and it was something that was undeniable. And just over time, I kept on posting and documenting my work, and that pushed my recognition out to all over the world. And just being able to share that, and just keep on posting that, you never know who's watching or what type of friendship or relationship that can create. And that's how I started to build my network of friends all over the industry. Like, I have friends all over the world now, just because of social media and my idea to start documenting my work. Building these relationships, and which that then led me to contact a friend that I knew that was working at a shop nearby Salt Lake City, where I currently live. And so this was 2018. I decided to message him and just say, hey, I want to hang out. I know that you just moved to Salt Lake. He was from New Mexico. He moved to Salt Lake to work for a company that was a pretty big and famous company that you guys probably all know. And I contacted him and I was just like, hey, let's hang out. And he messaged me back and said, do you want to come hang out on the job and maybe we can work together? And I said, yeah, absolutely. And so he set up an interview for me with this shop's manager. And so I went up to this shop and interviewed and got hired on the spot at that job. And that job was at Sparks Motors, the fabrication shop that builds everything for the TV show Diesel Brothers. And for my job interview, it was something that was pretty non-typical. When I walked into the shop, they had projects everywhere. So they had like a monster truck school bus being built. They had a crazy like 6-wheeler Ford diesel truck that they had cut up, and they were building like custom bedsides for it. And there was a Land Rover Defender, an old one, like one of the old, like really old military style Land Rovers, and they were converting it to an American left-hand drive from a right-hand drive. And it had a roll cage, an external roll cage on it that needed to be welded. So for my job interview, they asked me to finish welding the cage for the Land Rover. And after I finished that cage, it was like 20 minutes or so, and they asked me if I could weld up the front section of a razor cage for their side-by-side. So I did that one, and they came and dropped off another one. So I welded that, and that was my job interview. At the end of my job interview, they cut me a check for the day and said, we want you to start, and we know that you spent a lot of time here today, so here's money to compensate you for your day and the work that you helped us with. And so that's how I landed myself at in the position of lead welder at Diesel Brothers. A lot of that of working there was very, very non-typical to most of the industry and the jobs associated with that. Every day there would be a film crew, and it was a closed set, and so we would have meetings every day to get the team all together so we could talk, all be on the same page, and deliver the results that we needed, not just for ourselves, but for the whole team and the company itself. Working there, there's extremely strict deadlines to hit, down to the point where some days we were building something on the shop floor, and then 4 days later, those moments were being aired on national television. So it wasn't always that way, but that's just like how strict some of the deadlines could be. And unfortunately, some of those extreme deadlines caused us to work like 80, 100 plus hours a week, just basically nonstop. Like some nights I would go home and I'd just sleep for like 4 or 5 hours. Some nights I don't even think I came home. I worked through the night because we had to hit deadlines. We were a very, very small team, and we just took it upon ourselves to make sure we did whatever it takes to not leave anybody behind or overburden like our teammates with extra work. And we didn't have a lot of management or like people telling us what to do. We were a group of crazy professionals from all over the country, and we were essentially just thrown together to create and build pieces of art that you could drive down the road. Build things that were crazy different and pushing the limits. Some of you maybe have seen the 6x6 trucks where they're like all 6-wheel drive, 2 solid rear axles in the rear. There's a lot of crazy geometry and engineering that goes into developing that and having it be functional and drive down the road and not fall apart or break. And nobody there wasn't anybody else for us to like really reach out to and doing these things with. It was just we had to work together and figure all this stuff out, and that really showed me the importance of teamwork, and being confident about your part on the team, and also being humble and being able to work with everybody, because in the end, like our end goal all together was so much bigger than anything that any of us could do individually by ourselves. And so that's like the importance of teamwork is it's an extremely important thing, and being able to work with those around you, and it can be a lot of fun. So part of when I was working at Sparks Motors, I was able to manage a lot of sponsorship accounts, and that's kind of different than what I originally like expected it to be. So managing sponsorships, it's essentially a business contract. Like you're getting things that you don't have to pay for, as far as like monetary. Like you're not paying for these things, but you are responsible to promote those things and showcase those things in a way that that you feel they should be, that showcases those products the way that the company would like them to be. And there's a lot of responsibility behind managing sponsorships when you're asked to represent a brand or a company and be able to keep that in a way that they agree with and are excited and supportive of. That was a big part of working there and managing all of that. And so there was several accounts that I would manage and help manage at the shop for that. On the other side of that, I've been introduced to a lot of companies that have asked me to help them with product development or product testing. So I worked with 3M Speed Glass. So you know 3M, they're a major, usually like adhesive brand or a safety company. Like a lot of the dust masks or the respirator masks that you see are from 3M, and they're one of the world's biggest leaders in safety, manufacturing, and a bunch of different products. They have, like on their Speed Glass division, it's this company that's based out of Sweden, and they developed the first auto darkening welding helmet filter. So when you look through it, you can see through and everything's clear, but in the blink of an eye, it will turn to a shade that is safe enough to protect your eyes, and you can be able to see something that's 10,000 degrees and be totally safe. 3M they develop and research and create so many different products down to when they asked me to work with them on developing a new welding helmet that they were working on, they were going through trial and error, and they spent, I think, like 10 to 15 years trying to figure out how to create a certain type of flexible glass, and they just spent like so much research and time on it. And when they developed it into a product that they saw was fit for the industry, they asked me if I would be willing to test it and give all my feedback on that. And so I had some products that nobody in the world has really seen, and I was able to use those for like 3 years before they ever hit the market. And my responsibilities behind that was just to log. I had like bookworks to log and document over every experience that I have with these products to make sure their team can go through and analyze that and be reassured that they made world-leading products. Another company that I got involved with was OTC Daihen. They are a robotics specialty company for manufacturing. So they have a big focus in robotic automation and being able to hook up a welding power source to a robot and have the robot weld, which kind of seems intimidating and scary, especially for the welding industry, where it's a lot of it is hands-on, and it requires like an operator and people behind it. And there's a lot of people think that those are going to take their job, and I have a different view on that, where when you're doing a lot of manual labor and welding, it's very physically intensive on your body, and it's very repetitive, and you're doing things over and over and over again, where if you could have a robot that can do the same thing over and over, it can alleviate that stress on your body. And I think that's a really cool thing. And another cool thing is the robot. It doesn't know how to do anything or what to do unless it has an operator that can tell it what to do. And so if you have a robot that's going to weld, you still have to have a welder that has the knowledge of the whole entire welding process, the manufacturing process is how do you fabricate and fit those things together to get it ready for a robot to be able to take over and go through the motions for you. And so we're hitting a part in the industry which is really cool, where you have robots and people working together as one, and it becomes very, very much more efficient, and you don't have as many errors. It eliminates a lot of errors, a lot of the variables, and and something that I think is really important is it decreases the risk of physical injury by having machinery run it for you instead of people out there working on everything. And so that's what OTC Daihen is really big in, and I was introduced to them several years back, and I started working with them. They had a unit it's a manual welding unit to be controlled just by a human operator, and this machine it's a TIG welder, which is my professional specialty of welding. And so I really wanted to try this machine, and they really wanted to hear my feedback on what this machine was. And so I brought it in to the Sparks Motor Shop, and that's the welder that I used to build all the crazy trucks and all the builds that we were building there. And there was a lot of hours, and which gave a lot of opportunity to make sure, like, I knew what this piece of equipment was, the capabilities, kind of its limitations. And I worked with this company over 2.5 years, delivering them feedback and working with their engineering team here in Ohio, and they had another engineering team in Italy that we're all working together to develop a new type of operating software, essentially, to control this machine the exact way that I saw fit, and all these really small implementations that I could add into this piece of equipment to make it something that I thought was the best, most stable piece of welding equipment in the world. And as far as I can see, it's exactly what we were able to accomplish together. Following the development of the technology that we implemented in this machine, they then asked me if I would be willing to co-brand and collaborate on this machine, and they asked me to put my aesthetic style onto it and put my name on the machine along with theirs, so we could sell it to the world. And so that's the first time that I know, in the history of welding, that something like that's been done, which is really, really cool and exciting to me. And So when I was working at Sparks Motors, and then COVID hit, the pandemic came flooding in on the world, and our production company was based out of New York City, and New York got hit really, really hard, really fast, and so they completely shut down production, and they weren't filming anything, and so all of the laborers in the shop were just kind of in a point of limbo, and that's when, like, one day I ended up getting furloughed, which means that I was asked to step away from the job for a small moment of time and come back when it made more sense to have me there, because it didn't make sense to have me there without projects to build or things to do, because the things that we were doing were being documented for a television show, and so we couldn't make the progress on anything without it being documented, and so it put us into a kind of a really weird null. And so immediately when I was furloughed from the job, my wife also was, from her fashion design job. This is my wife, Shan. She's here too. And so she's a technical fashion designer. So essentially like she engineers the way that clothing fits on a body, if that makes any sense. And she's one of the most talented people that I know. Not just because she's my wife, but because of her skills and the way that she applies herself. And us both being let go from our jobs within the same day, we decided to join together and start Kane Industries. And one of the big reasons I wanted to start my own brand was to continue to create products that I thought could really, really help the welding industry, and maybe just be able to these are things that there were things that I saw that the welding industry really needed, and if we could design products that could change the way that professionals can go about being maybe more comfortable and applying themselves with less distraction and more focus on the job. And one of the products that I use the most is welding gloves. And so creating a glove that fits more ergonomically like a hand, and creating a fit that moves with your body and is less restrictive was something that I really, really wanted. And there's not a lot of products available for professionals. It's kind of more of like a general like, here's a lot of stuff to get you by. And so I wanted to create something that was more refined and more applied directly for professionals to use and to be more comfortable with it, and maybe something that doesn't look like the normal. Maybe it looks a little bit more fun and exciting, or you don't have to feel like you're fitting the mold of what you would see on, like, as the traditional welder. And that's really the passion behind my products. When you're working with metal, there's a lot of heat generated, and so protecting yourself from the heat. And when you have an exposed electrical arc, it creates an intense amount of ultraviolet radiation, which is essentially 10,000 times the intensity of just regular sun exposure if you go outside. So that's how intense it is. And so just having that light come in contact with your body can be very, very damaging. Working in an environment that's really, really hot, you have to cover up and put more layers on, and that it's like wearing a North Face coat in the summer. Like, it doesn't make the most logical sense, other than, yes, it does protect you, but maybe there's other ways that could be better and more efficient. And so developing products at Kane Industries, I was able to find a fabric that it blocked out the ultraviolet light from hitting your body, and I was able to make just a pull-on sleeve that's fitted to your body. So just like if you wore a small, medium, or large jacket, you could be able to get a small, medium, or large sleeve and just throw those on, and they can protect you because you're already wearing a t-shirt. And if you're working in crazy heat, just pull on the sleeves, and then you're able to work more comfortably and more efficiently. So that was a big product that I really, really wanted to introduce to the welding industry. Just something more refined and more comfortable and fitting for everybody. And it's the way that I really wanted it. It was something I didn't see available, and so I figured, why not try? Like, what's the big risk of it? Other than maybe I could help a lot of people. I created a new welding hat too. Some of you, I don't know if you've seen like what a traditional welding hat looks like. It's kind of just a non-stretchy beanie with a long brim that you can flip down to cover your ears so sparks don't go in it. And those are typically geared towards the people in the field, or like a pipeline welder. When you're laying sideways on the ground and you have sparks raining down on you, you can kind of cover up. But that's not the side of the welding industry that I chose to go into. I chose to go into the very, very fine, like precise micro welding essentially. And that's, in working in that field, a lot of the products, the PPE they don't really translate well to that type of work. And so I created a snapback hat. So it's essentially just like the hats most of us are wearing here today, but it has foam padding like the trucker hats do. It has foam padding around the front, the top, and the sides. So when you clamp a welding helmet onto it, it alleviates some of that pressure. So it just feels more comfortable on your, like the way on your body and the way that you wear it. And a welding helmet it has weight to it, and you see a lot of people they're flipping their heads around because they have a helmet on, and that causes a lot of tension on your head from the headgear that's clamped on, a lot of strain on your neck. And so being able to have something that's comfortable and helps just take some of that away was a big deal. And so I created this hat to wear and make things more easy, just more comfortable, because I feel like the more comfortable that you can be, with the least amount of distractions, you're going to feel a lot better about yourself, and you're going to be able to go out and do your best work. Those are some of the main products I started with Kane Industries. And the other side of it is I opened up, like I said before, like I've worked with a lot of different companies, like trying different tools and equipment and different products, and being able to use some of the world-leading tools and products that maybe aren't widely known. They don't have like a really, like, it's not like a household name of a product that you would be using, even in the manufacturing industry. And working with those tools that really, really helped me, like over the years, I've had different tools that I've always tried and tried to figure out what's better. I would try all these tools, and so when I started my online business, I opened up a pro shop that has the tools that I use, that I've tried and tested, and in hopes that could help alleviate some of the stress from people trying to find what is the best product to use, why is it better, why is it more efficient. And those are just the things that I really wanted to showcase and have available for people to go on and be able to shop. Just drawing a blank. Does anybody have does anybody have any questions that maybe I could answer? Yeah. Yeah. So how did I use social media to essentially establish my presence to like or my recognition? Um, I just saw I looked at social media and saw like the opportunity. Like I said, like I started doing posting as like that was my personal portfolio and documenting things. Um, Something that's another side of that is I use that to kind of look back on, and it was reassuring. Like if I could document my progress and then look back on it, I was able to look at myself as my own competition to help boost myself, because maybe when I first started posting, I'd post the best of the best stuff that I could possibly do, kind of as an inspiration for myself to get to as a standard. And the more and more I did that, the more and more that became my reality. And I've always been willing to, not only when I post my work, post essentially the recipe behind it. Like, what did I do? What were all the steps that I took to create that level of work? And that's something that's not, you don't see a lot of. You see the end products, like you see the end product, and you don't see the process of how did that happen, or why did that happen, and showcasing those things and like the step by steps, and being willing to share those things, I think are really what boosted my traction on my personal channels, just because it's the willingness to share. That is what led me. The willingness to share is what led me to it was like a year and a half ago to start a new company called WeldLabs, which I could travel all over, stop into different colleges, high schools, businesses, and work with their teams to help maybe help point out some of the issues and that they have, and simplify their problems to make them more efficient. And so over the past year and a half, I've been all over the USA, stopping into colleges and helping students everywhere and working with them directly. And one of the reasons I wanted to do that was because when I was in high school shop class, we had a guest professional come in, and he didn't really say much, but he came in and he showed the welding process that really intrigued me, TIG welding, and he just ran a demonstration of it, and it was just kind of casual, and he did it like it wasn't a big deal, and when I was watching that, it just really inspired me to dive more into it, because I saw something that I'd never seen before, and I saw it in person, like live in front of me, and that was something that I'll never forget, and the impact that it had on me, and that's what really motivated me and excited me to go out and share more with the world. Because if you never know, like who's going to change the things, and who's going to change something in an industry, and you'll definitely never know if you don't try and you don't go out and just apply yourself. I think one of the biggest things you can do is persevere, because it's not always good. Everything's not always good. And when things seem like they're kind of in a rut, like if you persevere through that, you might learn a lot. There's like a lot of opportunity to learn through the hard times. Because everything's not always easy. There's a lot more hard times than there is good, I would say. When you go into a career, like there's a lot of frustrations, and just being able to stay calm, like collect yourself and work through those things, that's all you can do. One more.
Which welder, Miller,
Which welder out of Miller or Lincoln? Yes. I think that you have strengths with all machines, all equipment. But most importantly, there's different levels. There's a lot of equipment that you see that's kind of geared towards somebody who's going to be using it maybe like 5 hours a month or like 30 hours a year. There's a lot of products like that, and then there's as you climb up into the different products, there's products that are made for more like industry or professional, or you have like a pro hobby, which is a piece of industrial equipment that's made for a professional that just maybe needs something like at home to use or something like that. So there's a lot of different levels, and all the different brands, like they're big brands, like they're gonna work, they're gonna be awesome, and it's how you can use those yourself to build your skill set and build your value with those tools. Where do I want to see myself in 10 years? I I just want to keep growing and growing myself, growing my brand, and just continue to develop not only like things with my business but myself. Constantly always, yeah, not getting complacent, just always pushing through to the next thing, and pushing through to things like even when they're uncomfortable. I feel like that's when, if you can get to the point of like being uncomfortable, then that's when you really make breakthroughs. And so trying to push, just always pushing through to the next point of uncomfort to stir up progress, I think that's what I'll do. Thank you.
All right, get excited about the trades, and skills can take you wherever you want to be. And we appreciate Rush and his time to be here with us. And I know the Ephraim crowd is already dismissed because they have other classes to get to. So, Rush, thanks for spending the time with us.